On one hand, Singapore is well known for its world-class efficiency, clean streets and a strong currency, while Malaysia is famous for its amazing food, cheap petrol, and a lifestyle that some Singaporeans secretly miss. But which is a better place to work and live? And is the grass truly 3 times greener on the other side? Let's find out in this video. First up, let's talk about money, because let's face it, it's usually the #1 reason people think about working in Singapore or in Malaysia. Meet Darren from Malaysia and Jess from Singapore. Both just graduated with a computing degree. Darren landed a junior software developer role in Kuala Lumpur, earning 3,800 ringgit a month. That's pretty close to the average pay for this role in KL. Is 3.8k a lot? Well, it's definitely above Malaysia's national median wage, but in Kuala Lumpur, it's actually just a little below the median income. Meanwhile, Jess is earning 3,800 Sing dollar a month in Singapore, also near the average for entry-level software engineers, but unfortunately, her salary is well below Singapore's median income of 5.5k. Not only that, the gap gets even wider when you compare Jess' pay to the median salary for computing fresh grads in Singapore, which is over 6,000 Sing dollar. Why the difference? One likely reason is experience. Jess probably only did one internship during university, while many students are now chonging multiple internships before graduating, giving them a leg up to land higher paying jobs. This just shows how competitive the Singapore job market is. Even fresh grads are expected to have relevant working experience before they start working. But beyond gross salary, what really matters is how much you actually take home after expenses. So let's find out. How far does 3,800 ringgit in KL go versus 3,800 Sing dollar in Singapore? Quick pause. If you're looking for the best brokers to kickstart your investing journey, check out Interactive Brokers. You will enjoy one of the lowest fees in the industry at just 35 cents per trade on the US stock market. It also offers Ireland domicile ETFs, perfect for saving on dividend withholding taxes. Plus, it also comes with free company research tools, so you can make smarter investing decisions. Feel free to use my Interactive Brokers link to open an account and start investing today. Alright, let's get back to the video. Before the money even hit their bank accounts, both Darren and Jess are already happily contributing their retirement savings through EPF and CPF. In Malaysia, if you are under 60 and earning 5,000 ringgit or less, you contribute 11% of your salary to EPF. That means Darren puts in 418 ringgit each month. In Singapore, the rate is higher. Jess contributes 20% of her salary to CPF, which comes up to about $760 a month. While this may seem like a bad thing to some people, the forced savings can actually make a huge difference to their retirement later down the road. That's because for Darren, while he is contributing 11% of his salary, don't forget that his employer is also contributing 13%. Plus, Malaysia's EPF dividend rate has always been pretty attractive, with it hovering around the 5 to 6% mark in recent years. What's more, that rate applies to the entire EPF account's balance, meaning all of the contributions are growing steadily. Thanks to compounding, a monthly contribution of 912 ringgit can grow to nearly 2,660 ringgit in 20 years. On the flip side, Singapore's CPF interest rates aren't as high. The ordinary account earns just 2.5%. However, the total contribution rate is much bigger, just 20% plus her employer's 17%, totaling 37% of her salary each month. That sizable chunk means her CPF savings is building up fast, giving her a strong foundation for long-term wealth. Moving on, let's look at the monthly expenses, starting with housing. Darren, who's originally from Ipoh, moved to KL for work, so he needs to rent a place. He found a room in the KL city centre for 700 ringgit a month. It's nothing fancy, but it's affordable, within walking distance to several MRT stations, and it even comes with free Wi-Fi, weekly cleaning, and free maintenance. Not bad at all, yeah? Jess, on the other hand, is in a different situation. Like most Singaporeans, she technically doesn't need to rent. Singapore is small, and she could easily stay with her parents and still commute comfortably to work. But she decided to rent anyway, wanting to experience independent living. So, she found a room in Tampines for 700 Sing dollar a month. Why Tampines, you may ask? Well,
East side, west side ma.
Jokes aside, rents tend to be cheaper in the outer parts of Singapore, and Tampines has everything from malls to food and amenities. Plus, it's close to several MRT lines, so it's an easy choice for her. Speaking of MRTs, Both Darren and Jess take the train to work. For Darren, his office is in the Bangsar area, and it takes him about 30 minutes to get there from his place near the KL city centre. He's actually considered quite lucky because in KL, the average commute time is around 44 minutes. And some people even report travelling up to 1 to 2 hours to get to work. A one-way trip from his house to his office in Bangsar costs about 1 ringgit and 90 cents. So it makes more sense for Darren to get the My50 Unlimited Travel Pass, as it will give him unlimited rides on trains and buses for just 50 ringgit a month. Meanwhile, Jess works in the Tai Seng area, and her commute from Tampines also takes about 30 minutes. Again, less than the national average of 44 minutes. This lines up with what many Singaporeans experience: efficient public transport and relatively short commutes. Though, sometimes got train breakdown and some people never shower in the morning lah. Each MRT ride to work costs just about $1.73. But here's where she's smart. By tapping in before 7:30 AM, she gets a 50 cents early bird discount on weekdays. Assuming she commutes on weekdays and takes occasional weekend trips, her monthly transport cost comes out to around 95 Sing dollar. That's why she doesn't bother with Singapore's $128 unlimited pass, as it wouldn't save her money anyway. Next, let's talk about food. Most people would agree that food in Singapore is cheaper than in Malaysia. Dollar for dollar speaking lah, of course. Take Chai Fan as an example. In Singapore, a plate with 1 meat, 2 veggies might cost around $3.50. But in Malaysia, that same plate will set you back by about 6 ringgit. Almost double the price. But hey, at least in Malaysia, you can still get your own veggies and maybe sneak in a little extra under the rice. But in Singapore, it's the Chai Fan uncle hiding meat inside your veggie dish. And all of a sudden, your 1 meat, 2 veggie becomes a 3 meat special. This is the same story with all the other common meals. Chicken rice, a Starbucks latte, a McDonald's set meal, or even a casual restaurant dinner. All of these cost nearly twice as much in Malaysia when converted dollar to dollar. Likewise, this is also the same with groceries. When comparing items like rice, bread, milk, and cooking oil, prices in Malaysia are often 2 to even 3 times higher than in Singapore. So it's not surprising that Singaporeans spend about 1,000 Sing dollar a month on food and groceries, while Malaysians can spend up to 1,200 ringgit. For simplicity's sake, let's assume Darren spends about 800 ringgit a month on food, while Jess spends around 500 Sing dollar. Next, let's talk about mobile and internet plans. In Malaysia, Darren pays 38 ringgit a month for his postpaid mobile plan. It comes with 120GB of data and unlimited calls, more than enough for him to binge watch personal finance videos on the go. Over in Singapore, mobile plans are surprisingly cheap, all thanks to the intense competition among telcos. Jess only pays $7.77 a month for her plan, which includes 200GB of local data, 100GB roaming in Malaysia, 3GB in 6 other regions, plus a ton of extra perks. Oh, and since she signed up using my referral code Kelvin, she even got extra chances to win a free gift. Not bad at all, eh? Now, when it comes to home internet, Darren pays 129 ringgit a month for a basic 100 Mbps fiber plan, one of the more affordable options available. Jess, on the other hand, is enjoying a blazing fast 3 Gbps fiber connection for just 30 Sing dollar a month. Once again, this is thanks to Singapore's highly competitive telco markets, which keeps prices low and speeds high. Now, let's talk about travel, because all work and no play makes Darren and Jess very sian. Darren loves holidaying in Thailand. No surprise there, since it is one of the top travel destinations for Malaysians. A one-way trip, including return flights, accommodation, food, transport, and a bit of shopping would cost him about 2,000 ringgit. But even if Darren doesn't travel overseas, he doesn't need to fly far to enjoy a great holiday. That's because Malaysia's got everything from Penang's legendary street food to the cool breezes of Cameron Highlands, the beaches of Langkawi, river cruises in Kuching, and even Mount Kinabalu, which he probably ticked off his bucket list a few years ago. Jess, on the other hand, doesn't have quite as many local travel options within Singapore. Aside from going to shopping malls in the CBD area or at Jewel in the airport, she sometimes goes hiking along Henderson Waves, only to end up at Vivo City, which of course, yet another mall. That's why she often looks forward to overseas trips. And like many Singaporeans, Japan is her top pick. Thanks to the strong Singapore dollar, a week-long holiday to Japan only costs her around 2,500 Sing dollar. But if Darren wanted to join her, the exact same trip would cost him close to 10,000 ringgit, which is more than 2 months of his salary. So far, we have covered nearly all the major expenses. But let's not forget about taxes. After deducting EPF and social contributions as tax reliefs, Darren only needs to pay a modest 125 ringgit in taxes. Of course, Darren can also claim other reliefs such as interest on housing loans, life insurance premiums, childcare expenses, and even purchases like sports equipment or lifestyle-related items. Meanwhile, Jess pays 392 Sing dollar in taxes, a little more than Darren, but she also has access to a range of reliefs that could reduce her tax bills significantly. These include CPF top-up relief, the Supplementary Retirement Scheme, and the super valuable Working Mother's Child Relief, which can help bring down her taxable income substantially. So, how much do Darren and Jess have left after all their money expenses? After accounting for rent, transport, food, taxes, and everything in between, Darren is left with about 1,207 ringgit, while Jess has around 900 Sing dollar to save and invest. But why the difference? One key factor is Singapore's higher CPF contribution rate. Jess is putting aside a larger portion of her salary for retirement, which reduces her take-home pay. However, this isn't necessarily a disadvantage. It just means she's saving more for her future. Not just that, CPF savings can be used for expenses beyond retirement, such as housing and insurance. For example, if Jess buys a home within her means, much of her down payment and monthly mortgage payments could be fully covered by her CPF funds, eliminating the need to pay out of pocket. On the other hand, while Darren can also use his EPF savings to pay for a house, there's a significant opportunity cost. EPF offers a relatively attractive dividend rate of around 5 to 6%, while mortgage interest rates in Malaysia tend to be lower. That's why for some Malaysians, it makes more financial sense to pay the mortgage in cash and leave their EPF savings intact. But of course, this strategy will reduce their monthly cash flow. Beyond CPF, other living expenses such as rent, transport, and taxes tend to be slightly higher in Singapore. However, Singaporeans often enjoy lower costs in categories like food and utilities. When it comes to travel, Malaysians face higher overseas travel costs due to the weaker ringgit. But domestic travel remains affordable with plenty of amazing local getaways to explore. Singaporeans, on the other hand, don't have the same luxury of local travel. The country is small, and while there are places to explore like Sentosa or Pulau Ubin, it's not quite the same as hopping on a road trip. As a result, traveling overseas becomes a lot more common, and thanks to the strong Singapore dollar, regional trips are more affordable for them. But what about big ticket items like cars and houses? This is where the story flips. In Malaysia, owning a car is almost a necessity, especially in areas with limited public transport. The good news, cars here are relatively affordable compared to Singapore, with a wide variety of local and imported models to choose from. For instance, you can get a brand new Peroda Myvi for just about 60,000 ringgit. A fuel-efficient compact car ideal for city driving. In Singapore, however, owning a car is considered a luxury. Between the certificate of entitlement, import taxes, and high vehicle price, even a basic Honda can easily set you back over 167,000 Sing dollar, roughly the price of a small toilet in a condo. And here's the kicker, your car's COE is only valid for 10 years. After that, you have to either scrap the vehicle or pay hefty fees to renew the COE. That doesn't even cover ongoing costs like parking, maintenance, insurance, and petrol, all of which can easily add several $100s a month. Yes, Malaysian car owners face those expenses too, but with one major advantage. Government subsidies make petrol significantly cheaper. This price difference is a big reason why most Singaporeans choose not to own a car, and for those who do, often find themselves tied down by hefty loans, or occasionally crossing the border just to fuel up on cheaper petrol. When it comes to property, Kuala Lumpur offers decent value. You can find a spacious 3-bedroom condo or apartment with over 1,000 square feet for around 500,000 ringgit to 600,000. Many of these are freehold, meaning you truly own the property and can pass it on to your children. In Singapore, a 3-bedroom resale HDB on the outskirts typically costs 600,000 Sing dollar or more. Newer flats often offer less than 900 square feet, while older flats have leases with fewer than 60 years remaining before they are returned back to the government. Thankfully, government grants can help to offset some of those costs. Meanwhile, condos in Singapore are a different story altogether, with prices easily ranging from $1.5 million to $2 million for similar sized units. This is why most Singaporeans opt for built-to-order BTO HDB flats, which are more affordable but require a few years of waiting before moving in. But setting money aside, What is it really like to work in Malaysia versus Singapore? In KL, the working culture is often described as more relaxed and flexible. In contrast, Singapore's work environment is famously fast-paced, high efficient, and sibeh intense. Another notable difference is in public holidays and annual leave. Malaysians generally enjoy more public holidays and vacation days as compared to their Singaporean counterparts. These differences are reflected in studies as well. Singapore ranks as the most overworked country in the APAC region, with an average work week of 45 hours. Malaysian workers typically clock fewer hours each week. It's no surprise that over half of Singaporeans report feeling burnt out and highly stressed, often due to long hours and demanding bosses as the main culprits. That said, the picture isn't entirely different in Kuala Lumpur either. Reports show that KL is one of the most overworked cities globally, with high rates of depression and anxiety among workers. This partly explains why over 2 million Malaysians are now living overseas, with nearly half of them working professionals. And guess where most of them end up? Singapore. It's not just the strong SGD to ringgit exchange rate that draws them in, it's also the higher salaries, clearer career pathways, and greater exposure to global opportunities. Take the healthcare sector as an example. Many Malaysian doctors, nurses, and medical specialists frequently face challenges like under-resourced hospitals, long working hours, and limited career advancement. But by simply moving across the border to Singapore, they gain access to better pay, better working conditions, and more advanced training, all while still being close to home. But it's not just healthcare. Singapore's reputation as a regional hub for finance, technology, and biotech also attracts Malaysian talents seeking higher value roles, international exposure, and faster career progression. That said, Singapore isn't without its own challenges. Many Singaporeans themselves have chosen to migrate to countries like Australia, Canada, and the UK in search for a slower pace of life and better work-life balance. So, is it better to work in Singapore or in Malaysia? Perhaps at the end of the day, there's really no clear winner because both sides have their own struggles. Even though Singapore may seem more attractive with its higher salaries and stronger currencies, life there isn't exactly cheap either. The fast-paced lifestyle, long working hours, and high cost of living can take a toll mentally, physically, and financially. On the flip side, Malaysia may offer a more relaxed environment, lower expenses, and a culture that's rich and diverse in ways Singapore simply doesn't have, from free homes to spontaneous getaways and a different kind of kampung spirit. So, rather than always comparing which is better, perhaps it's more meaningful to appreciate what each place has to offer and make the most of wherever you are or wherever you choose to go. Because at the end of the day, it's not just about where you work, but how you live.